Hey, welcome back, everybody. Mark from Rams Up here. It is finally here. Preseason game number one. I'll get one more drop here out before the game. Ian may drop before the game as well. He'll certainly have a post-game video out. And it's finally here. And the preseason games are even less important for Ram fans than they are for other fans of other teams. There's a lot of guys that just aren't going to see the field. A lot of guys going to be in street clothes. Even some rookies, some drafted rookies may not play. I have one in mind I'm not sure about, but that's a good sign. If a guy's not playing, you know what that means, right? That means that the Rams have already penciled him in for a significant role, but I think he will play. But we'll get to that in a second. We'll get to some news and notes, and it is episode 796. I'm going to talk about a player who wore number 96. I've already talked about James Hall, Doug Barnett, and Matt Longacre. Let's talk about a big run-stopping defensive lineman from the early 90s, and that would be Mark Boutte. 6'4", 307-pound defensive tackle out of LSU. The Rams drafted him in the third round, 57th overall in the 92 draft. Just played 2 years for the Rams, 71 tackles, 2 sacks, and then suffered a knee injury in the following year's training camp. Rams let him go, and he was eventually picked up by Washington, played 6 years there, and it wasn't necessarily a stellar career, but he's a decent defensive lineman. Had a knack for forcing fumbles, had 8 of them, and also had 2 interceptions, interestingly, both off of left-handed quarterbacks. A little trivia there for you. But Mark Boutte, he is my number 96 for the Los Angeles Rams. Now, I'm going to talk about I'm going to reset my Matthew Stafford worry meter. And I know I'm probably beating you over the head with this, but it's worth talking about. Every episode, we're probably going to be mentioning this, except for maybe our post-game shows during this preseason. But I'm feeling a little bit better about his chances, and that's due to an article I read by Dan Graziano of ESPN. And I'll just quote Dan here. Matthew Stafford has been sitting out with a back issue. Well, we knew that. The Rams' plan, and Sean McVay, their head coach, said yesterday, this has been the plan all along, is to work him out before tomorrow's, that's the Cowboy preseason game, and assuming he feels good off of that, work him into practice next week. Graziano continues here. They have a joint practice next week against the Chargers. He will not participate in that. They just want to put him in controlled situations as much as possible. But this is what we're keeping an eye on. If Stafford feels good enough after that, he'll work himself into the training camp, game action with his teammates, scrimmage action with his teammates, training camp action. And, maybe all will be good. I'm feeling a little bit better about it. It doesn't seem like Sean McVay is too stressed about it, just working through the plan, working through, what has been the plan all along, I guess. And sure, there's still a long-term concern about his back, especially when he starts getting knocked around in real games. But hey, baby steps here. Let's get Matthew Stafford to that opening day game against the Texans, get a W there, protect him well, and move on to the next week. What else are we going to do? That's all we got. Cross our fingers and hope Matthew Stafford gets squared away. Now, let's talk about some other injuries. Jared Verse, what a character, bangs his knee with Braden Fisk and leaves the field under assistance, and then goes on social media and implies that, hey man, it's serious, and then comes back a little while later. Hey guys, I'm fine. Everything's going to be fine. A little piece of advice, Jared. Don't do that to us, okay? Knock that stuff off. We have enough to worry about between Lyric Jackson and Matthew Stafford. Keep that in check. Speaking of Lyric Jackson, really no update on that other than that we did hear that he was in pads and working through some drills the other day. so maybe he's on track as well. Kobe Turner out with a lower back issues, doesn't appear to be serious, so we'll slow him down for a while. And Nathan Landman with a calf injury was held out of those joint practices, and Troy Reeder stepped in for him. I don't know what's going on with these calf injuries. It's like suddenly there's a rash of them. Pooh Paul, there was another Ram, I forget who it was. Oh, Jawan Jennings, a calf injury. That was Akilla Witherspoon. Akilla Witherspoon had a calf injury, and now Nate Landman. Very interesting indeed. And I wanted to talk about the NFL's top 100 real quickly. And, we, Puka, the NFL.com's been slowly releasing these top 100 players in small little snippets, basically. And Puka emerged at number 41. So the Rams at this point have Jared Verse at 53, Stafford at 59, Kyron Williams at 85, and of course, Puka, as I said, at 41. So four of the top, four of the players from 41 through 100 are Rams. That's a pretty good number. When you figure that 32 teams, 100 players, if you have more than three, you're doing pretty well. And the Rams already have four, and there could be one more coming. I think there will be. I wanted to talk about Omar Spates real quickly, a guy that's kind of got lost. As at least I feel like maybe us here at Rams Up haven't talked about him enough. He had a really solid rookie season, and I think we've been so excited about Nate Landman and some of these other guys. Poona Ford edition, Devontae Adams, the defensive lineman that we've drafted over the last 2 years. Mumfield, Jordan Whittington, all these, young players. And then Omar Spates, I think we've kind of lost sight of him, and he's been making some plays in camp apparently. And I feel like, a couple of years ago, we felt really good about having Ernest Jones and whoever. And that was not a bad setup because Ernest Jones is really talented. And now I feel like with Spates and Landman, we may be as solid as far as the top two guys, as solid as we've been in quite a long time. And I suddenly feel really good about this group. Now, don't think there's going to be any Pro Bowlers emerging from this inside linebacker room, but Spates, Landman, Pooh Paul, who's been slowed with that calf injury, of course, Sean Dolak trying to make the team, beat out Troy Reeder, perhaps. Not a bad group at all. And Omar Spates, kind of a forgotten guy, maybe, at least here at Rams Up, and I apologize for that. A guy that we should also be very excited about. Those joint practices are behind us now, and I just wanted to make a comment about that. It was really interesting reading Cowboy writers talking about how the Rams dominated seemingly across the board. And I think there's two things to take note of here. I think the general public and probably Cowboy fans, it just hasn't settled in yet that the Rams are the premier franchise here and not the Cowboys. Sean McVay is the elite coach, not Brian Schottenheimer. Stan Kroenke is an incredible owner, and the Jones family, Stephen and Jerry, not so much. Roster-wise, the Rams roster is so much better than this Cowboys roster. And it's, that's just the truth of the matter. And I think that was evident during these joint practices, Rams getting it done. I also wanted to talk about the release of this depth chart. The Rams publishing their first depth chart, and I was looking at it, and it was basically, I think any rookie was at the bottom of the depth chart, and then they settled out the pecking order among the rookies and draft picks and so on. I guess what I'm getting at is I don't put a lot of weight into the Rams' first depth chart. I don't think it maps to reality at all. It's more about showing respect for guys that have been there, and this is when various youngsters will start trying to climb that depth chart. Although I think they really already have. Rams just aren't going to put that on paper out of respect for these more seasoned guys, returning players. That's how I see it. I saw that depth chart, and it's like, it's not the depth chart I have in my head, and I think mine is probably more accurate. Hey, trying to go through that would take up a whole show, and I didn't want to do that. But if you look at their depth chart, you'll see what I'm talking about. I think it's a little bit of BS, basically, is what it is. But understand why they have to do that. You know, show some respect to veterans and returning players, but within a couple of weeks, there could be some shifting, at least in Sean McVay's mind, if it hasn't already. Now, the Manning family coming out and saying that Arch Manning, the Texas quarterback, will not be in next year's draft. We're talking about 2027 draft for Arch Manning. And the quote was, he's not going to do that to Texas. He will be there for the 2025 and 2026 season. And I'm calling BS as well. So much can change between now and then. I don't know why they would make that statement, other than perhaps they're trying to deter some of the bottom feeders from losing out and trying to get to Arch Manning. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And I think take it with a grain of salt. Arch Manning and his parents will be the ones deciding, I think, if he comes out, and if he has an incredible year and he's ready for the pros, he will come out in the 2026 NFL draft, despite what his grandfather is telling everybody. And I'm wondering if he's speaking out of turn. I don't know if grandpops should be orating on the subject. I would be curious to know how Arch feels about that. University of Texas probably feels great about it, just not putting a lot of weight on it myself. I wanted to share some random stats I ran across on NFL.com as they pertain to our LA Rams. Over the last two seasons, the Lions and Rams rank first and second, respectively, in regular season wins from week 10 on. And I didn't realize it about the Lions, but the Rams certainly, it's pretty evident. We've seen that. And these two teams play post week 10. So it's going to be just another reason to watch this game. That could end up being one of the top games of the year. Two offenses that really play well. The Stafford Goff situation, the Dan Campbell kind of dissing unintentionally, I think, the Rams last year in the playoffs. The way the Staffords were treated in Detroit when they returned this last time. When the Lions visited SoFi the first time with Goff, I went on record on this podcast YouTube channel saying that we need to show the utmost respect for Jared Goff, maybe a standing ovation. Give this guy a round of applause for all he got done as a Los Angeles Ram. I don't know if I feel that way anymore. When they come to Los Angeles this time, I'm not saying show them the treat him poorly like some of the Detroit fans did to Stafford, but no standing ovation for Jared Goff. Absolutely not this time around, I guess is what I'm saying. That's a long ways off, though. A lot will happen between now and then, but Jared, we're probably going to try to make you a little less comfortable this time around. I'll do a little loop around the league here to some random notes across the league. Boy, Chargers lose Rashawn Slater. He just inked a 4-year contract, $114 million with $92 million guaranteed, and he is out for the year. This is a big blow for the Chargers and a big blow for Slater, but thankfully for him, he did get that guaranteed contract. I'm not sure the Charger front office is thrilled, but this is a reason why players hold out sometimes for that big money. They want that guarantee because their career, not that his career is over, but their career could be over in the blink of an eye. 1 or 2 years of productivity, one or 2 years of that trajectory they need to stay on to make the big money could be interrupted or gone completely. Now, I was watching very briefly the Raiders-Seahawks game. Not really too interested in these preseason games, but I put it on for a little bit. And there was Cooper Kupp on the sideline in a Seahawks uniform. I think it was a uniform, maybe just a jersey. I'm not sure. And it hit me. It finally hit me. Cooper Kupp is a Seahawk. It was crazy. It just didn't feel right. But hey, it's happened. I also wanted to mention what happened in this Bengals game. The Bengals are another team that has started slowly and has held back their starters a lot. So they ran Joe Burrows and Jamar Chase out there and trying to. I'm not sure if this is the thought process, but has to be a part of it, right? And four of Burrows passes, four Burrows to Chase passes for 77 yards, including a 36-yard score. So something for the Rams to think about. It's not going to happen this year, obviously, but there is some advantages to starting your starters in the preseason a little bit, if nothing else, for momentum. Of course, the downside is, you run Burrows and Chase out there for a couple series and they get nothing done. Then what do you do? So there is that. But just wanted to mention that the Bengals taking a different turn, a different approach this year. It's just a slight change in how they're doing things. I'm not sure if Burrows and Chase are going to continue to play through the rest of the preseason, but they did in their opener on Thursday night and did pretty well. Bo Nix came in that top 100 at number 64. And my first thought was, wow, that's pretty high, rookie quarterback. And I guess I haven't really been paying attention, but this guy had an incredible year. 29 TDs, 12 interceptions, 4 rushing TDs, and played very consistently well in Sean Payton's offense all year long. And that's why this Bronco team is really getting pumped up by a lot of people as being a playoff contender, and I think they are. And the thing about Bo Nix is I went back to my thoughts on the NFL draft, and if you watch that exchange between Les Snead and Sean McVay when Bo Nix gets drafted, was it 12th or 14th overall, somewhere in there by the Broncos, which a lot of people thought was early, and those two dudes, Snead and McVay, had a little exchange like, "Hey man, good for Bo." And at the time I saw that, I said, I think they really liked Bo Nix, and I think in another year, in another situation, they may have jumped all over Bo Nix, and I'm thinking that may have been the case. Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback, and I have a feeling Les Snead and Sean McVay saw it that way last year. It just wasn't in the cards for them to go after their next franchise quarterback at that point. And a real quick Micah Parsons update. I don't think it makes sense for the Rams. I know Aaron Donald was excited about that possibility, but Garrett Podell of CBS Sports shared his likely Micah Parsons destinations, and I think the overriding factor, two factors really, if it made sense roster and scheme wise, and did the team have the salary cap room to bring on Micah Parsons, and he came up with 6 teams: the Patriots, Chargers, Packers, Cardinals, Raiders, and Jets. And what I will say about that is I don't think Micah Parsons would be very excited about going to the Raiders or the Jets. Cardinals are a team, throw him into the mix. That could be a really good defense without him this year if things come together. Packers playoff team in all likelihood. Chargers have a shot at the playoffs, and Patriots are a team bouncing back. They are going to be decent and could make a playoff run as well. I don't think Micah Parsons wants anything to do with the Raiders or Jets, though. That's just my guess. So let's get to some final comments on this Rams-Cowboys game. Not really comments, the players I'm excited to watch. Jarquez Hunter, I want to see him get a bunch of touches, see if he has this burst that we're hoping for. And he will get the bulk of the carries, I think. I think Cody Schrader will get a lot too. I don't think Blake Corum will play. Maybe a little Ronnie Rivers, and maybe some of the other backup running backs. But Hunter is the guy I'm really excited to see. The second player I want to see, it kind of copped out here, Josiah Stewart and Brennan Jackson. These guys are the third and fourth outside linebackers, pass rushers at this point. They're very different players. Josiah relying on speed and agility and quickness. Brennan, a bigger outside linebacker, more of the Michael Hoyt flavor, probably stronger against the run. And you know what? It's possible they don't play, but I think they will. It's hard to tell with this Rams team. And the third guy is Konate Mumpfield. He will play. Um, I think if this was a thinner wide receiver group and they really had an opening at this point, I don't think they really do, but if they had an opening at the number 2 or number 3 wide receiver, Mumpfield would probably sit because he'd be that guy. But there are too many guys ahead of him on the depth chart, and he needs to get some NFL action. So we'll see. Everybody's been really excited about him, pumped to see what Mumpfield can do in the preseason. And fortunately, Stetson Bennett's coming along, so we can have a guy that can really chuck the ball around precisely. That seems to be what's happening in camp. He's really improved, and that's to the benefit of guys like Mumpfield who are trying to show their stuff. It kind of hurts when you have these, a third string offensive line and a quarterback that's about to get cut, and you're a wide receiver trying to demonstrate your skill set. But I don't think that's the case with this Rams team. I think they're the offensive line that the linemen that are going to play are going to be able to get it done, I think. And Stetson Bennett has come a long way, so Mumpfield will have his opportunities. And the next guy is Terrence Ferguson. Is he going to play? You tell me. No idea. If he plays, man, good stuff. I want to see what he can do. Between him and Hunter and Mumpfield, the offense could be sizzling. But he could sit, if I don't care what the depth chart says, Terrence Ferguson is our number 2 tight end. And if that is truly the case, he may not play. And another guy is a guy that J.B. Long noted he was excited to see, and that's Nate Valcarcel, the undrafted safety. The Rams have an opportunity there, safeties, I should say, have an opportunity to make this roster. And he's a guy I've been talking about quite a bit, and I guess J.B. Long agrees. He will play a lot in this game. We actually don't have a ton of safeties on this roster, and Cam Curl and Cam Kinchens aren't going to play, so it's going to be a lot of Nate Valcarcel and Tanner Ingle. And then, of course, we all want to see Sean Dolak. I think he's going to play a lot. Landman won't play. I doubt Omar Spates plays. Paul, I'm not sure what the status of his calf injury is, but Dolak will play a lot. And then Ty Hamilton, I think they're going to get him some reps at defensive tackle. And he's a guy that they're really excited about second-year player Tyler Davis. I get that. And I probably should have him on this list too. But Ty Hamilton comes from that great Ohio State defense. And a lot of folks think that there are so many great players on that defense that Hamilton got overlooked. Not as much appreciation for him as there should have been. He could be a guy that comes in as a run-stopping defensive tackle on a rotational basis. And hey, maybe he comes in and dominates in this game against the Cowboys. That would be really good to see. We need trying to sort out this defensive line, the number 5, 6 guys, who they're going to be. One of them's going to be Ty Hamilton, I think. So let's see what he's got. Let's see what he has in this. I'll be keeping an eye. I'll have him penciled in, circled in. Hey, make sure you print out a roster before this preseason game. Just a little tip, because if you don't, you won't know what the heck's going on or who's doing what. Make sure you print out your roster, and if you're pulling it from the Rams site, pull out that secondary list of guys that are on the extended roster, because they're going to see a lot of action too. Just a little tip from someone who has found himself watching a game and going, who's that? And and where is he going? So have your rosters handy to check out or have them on your phone. Very important to enhancing your enjoyment of a Rams preseason game, especially preseason game number 1. A lot of guys we got to get to know here. So that's all I got out here from Rams Up. Ian will be back with a post-game summary. He may drop before the game as well, especially if any breaking news occurs. Definitely have something on that. And the rest of this week, starting this week and continuing through the following week, keep a lookout for my top 50 greatest Rams ever. I'll be doing my own countdown, number 50 to number 1, the greatest Ram ever. Hope you enjoy it out here.